I call this meeting to order. Thank you all for coming. Will you please rise and join me in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the record, all council are present. Staff is missing John Coleman, who is ill this evening. So, council, you know the drill on the consent calendar. I would bring your attention to item 3G, change order 7. In your packet, there was a change on page 2 to that document. Page 2, line 3 was struck out due to contractor error. So the contractor didn't agree with that, and we've decided it's a moot point, so that will be deleted. Do I have a motion for the consent calendar?
You say item G will be deleted totally, or just
an amended page 2 with line 3, due to contractor error, stricken from that sentence. Otherwise, the document stands.
I move that we accept the consent calendar with the noted correction.
Second.
A motion was made by Councilmember Dunley and seconded by Councilmember Johnson to approve the consent calendar with a noted exception to item G. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So tonight we get to do a couple of I guess one bittersweet and one fun thing. You know, we live in a great place. We have pretty trees in the river and mountains, and we have a really cute little town. But what really makes Sedro-Woolley different is that the people, historically and currently, give back to the community. So tonight, I get to honor on one hand the passing of a friend and paying respect to their family, and on the other hand, we get to honor a great organization. So would the Stendel family, do you mind to please come up and stand up front? I'm not trying to embarrass you. So most of you know that Bill passed last week, and you're just like that. Just like that. That's fine.
you're used to the mic, aren't you?
So Stendels are really a unique family, and when I was appointed as a city councilman, one of the first things I got to do was introduce them when our library honored you as a pioneer family. I don't know if you remember that, and I didn't know very much because I was a relative newcomer, but I learned a lot that day, and it was an honor. So I just want to say, before I read the proclamation, there's been 19 mayors in Sedro-Woolley. I think it's really telling that 2 of them were Stendels, and that's never happened before. We don't know about since, but it's really amazing how much the Stendel family has given to this community. Thank you for sharing him with us, and now we'll read a proclamation. Should have brought my readers. Proclamation of the City of Sedro-Woolley declaring March 12, 2017, William Bill Stendel Day. Whereas Bill Stendel faithfully served the City of Sedro-Woolley as mayor from 1992 until 1995 and served the citizens of Skagit County as a Public Utility District Commissioner for 6 years, and where he honorably served our country as a sergeant in the United States Army. Whereas he co-founded and participated in the Sedro-Woolley Community Thanksgiving Dinner and Lager Rodeo Chicken Picnic in the park for over 2 decades. Whereas he supported and led, to the great benefit of our city, local civic organizations such as Rotary, Masonic Lodge, Pioneer Association, and the Retired Teachers Association. And whereas he served the Presbyterian Church as an elder. Whereas he dedicated himself to the education of our youth for 31 years, and whereas Sedro-Woolley is proud and great of him and grateful for Mr. Stendel's lifetime of selfless service to his community, now therefore I, Keith Wagoner, Mayor of the City of Sedro-Woolley, do hereby proclaim March 12, 2017, William Bill Stendel Day in the City of Sedro-Woolley, and encourage the citizens of Sedro-Woolley to reflect upon Bill's passing and his deeds. Thank you so much, and I'm going to bring it down.
Anyone who wants to take pictures, you're more than welcome. You may be surprised. One more. Okay. Can we get some more? Here. Carl. Yeah, I'll come. I get that a little bit. That's what he doesn't call it. Very nice. 1, 2, 3. That's 1%. Thank you so much. Would you like to make any comments on the last one?
This is our supposed to.
You may have the microphone.
On behalf of the Stendel family, thank you so much. When we first heard about this, we were very, very surprised. This is such a neat thing for all of you to do. My father loved this community. When we're just driving down Main Street right now, Mom said, I'm so glad you drove down Main Street, because every time we got near it, Dad always said, turn on the Main Street. We got to drive down the main drag of Sedro-Woolley, else it's, we can't go home. And so Mom had to turn the car around multiple times to make sure that we went there. And he would drive by the schools, and as an old principal, keep an eye out, make sure everything was good with all the schools all the time, all the way up to the very end. So thank you so much for this honor. We're humbled, and this means so much to us. Thank you so much.
So the memorial service is this Sunday at 2:30 at the high school, which should tell you something about how much room they're going to need. I think there's going to be a lot of people there. Thank you.
Mayor, I was hoping that are we going to put that up on the website, the proclamation? Is that going to be up on?
It's on our website now, yeah. Well, the press release was, we can put the proclamation up. Thank you for the reminder. Okay, next up, and in keeping with the theme of selfless service to our community, Carol, here, please come on up.
May I bring the rest of
You may bring them all up with your fancy yellow vests.
You can take the picture.
So for those of you who don't know, this is the 80th year of Lions in Sedro-Woolley. And I will now read the proclamation. Proclamation of the City of Sedro-Woolley declaring March 19th through March 25th, 2017, Sedro-Woolley Lions Week. Whereas 31 businessmen and community members, having had the foresight 80 years ago to form and charter the Sedro-Woolley Lions Club on March 19, 1937, as an independent, non-sectarian, non-political, and non-profit organization, and whereas the mission of the Lions Club International is to empower volunteers to serve their communities, meet humanitarian needs, encourage peace, and promote international understanding through Lions Clubs. Whereas the Sedro-Woolley Lions, through volunteering and community service projects, meet needs of all the communities within the Sedro-Woolley School District by caring for the environment, engaging our youth, improving literacy, feeding the hungry, and aiding our seniors and disabled citizens. Whereas the community needs included improvements and beautifications to our parks, Highway 20 roadside cleanup, community safety, assistance to our schools, libraries, Helping Hands Food Bank, and Senior Center. And whereas the Sedro-Woolley Lions engage citizens to participate with them in promoting, organizing, staging, and producing the annual Logger Rodeo Parade. Whereas Sedro-Woolley Lions service includes helping community members in needs with vision and hearing assistance. Whereas the Sedro-Woolley Lions impact our city and surrounding communities has occurred over 80 years now. Therefore, I, Keith Wagoner, Mayor of the Sedro-Woolley, do hereby proclaim the week of March 19th through March 25th as Sedro-Woolley Lions Week in the city of Sedro-Woolley, and encourage the citizens of Sedro-Woolley to recognize the significant role of the Sedro-Woolley Lions in our community and thank them for their service of 80 years. And thank you.
We really need a gate here.
This is there. Good.
Thank you.
Looks good, man. Right here. 1, 2, and 3. And one more. Gouda. That's Dutch for cheese. There you go.
Thank you.
I want to thank the mayor and the council for recognizing the Sedro-Woolley Lions this week, during that week as well. We've done a lot of work in the community, and we're very honored to have this. And if anyone here knows of anyone that wants to be a member, we're open, and we're taking in applications anytime. So please feel free to contact us for vision needs, for hearing needs, if you need financial help. Thank you very much again.
Council, any words before we move on? Is that the signal for dead mic? It's probably a good thing. Well, I'll just ask you to project tonight because I think it might be a little hard. Anybody else having a problem?
I just would like to speak on behalf of congratulate the Lions. I've been able to work with them on Logger Road for many years, and I appreciate all the things that all the things that they've done for our community. But I also want to thank the Stendhal family for coming. We moved here 12 years ago, and when I did, I promptly joined the Masonic Lodge and met Bill through the lodge in town, and came to adore him and appreciate him, every on our monthly meetings. And I don't know if anyone is going to take over the whistle handshake, but I am willing to learn it. I'm not loud. I can't do it that loud, but I'll practice, and I want to be able to take that on.
All right, thanks. Carol, did you have
Excuse me, I have one more thing to say. Chris Stendhal was our first president. He was our charter president of Lions, and I was so nervous standing up here, I forgot to mention it, so I apologize.
Well, thank you very much, because now I learned another thing about the Stendhals. Okay, this brings us to item 6, the public comment period. I would remind everyone that we're having a public hearing on library concept, so save your library comments for that portion. But if anybody has public comment, you are allowed 3 minutes at the lectern. And got any takers? State your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Carl DeYoung. I reside at 1030 Warner Street in Sedro-Woolley, Washington. And I am just here to say thank you for plowing our streets. We did rebuild after our slush storm on Saturday. Thank you very much. We did have, in all seriousness, we did have someone slip and fall due to the snow a couple months ago. And so we're very happy to have the plows come through before 8 in the morning to get those cleared. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that, Carl. We'll pass it on to our streets department. Thank you. Any other public comment?
Good evening. My name is Mary Anderson, and I live at 928 Beachley Road. I'm wondering two things. Whatever happened regarding signage for Sedro-Woolley on the roundabout on Cook Road? I drove there just today and observed that there are still no signs indicating that historic downtown Sedro-Woolley is a right turn on Ferry Street. Ferry Street is marked, but absolutely nothing about the city of Sedro-Woolley. I'm pretty sure it's been at least 6 months since I last raised this issue, and although the City Council has voted to fund the YMCA in Mount Vernon, they have, unless it had happened in my absence, taken no steps to advertise our own city with a simple sign. We could even move the current sign on Highway 20 out to the Cook Road roundabout and replace that large one with a smaller sign on Highway 20. But even that has not happened. So I'm asking, whatever happened to the signage for Sedro-Woolley on the roundabout on Cook Road? And my second question is more of a hypothetical. I would like to ask the City Comptroller, I believe it's Patsy, if in theory, it would be ethical or even legal for the City Council to vote to give away the City Hall building and all its private information on its citizens to another governmental entity, say the City of Burlington. Would the City Council have that power without asking their citizens? I'm just asking because it seems to me that the dispersal of city-owned assets that are not outdated or unused would be against the financial interests of that city's citizens. And I'm seeking clarification from the city director responsible for that city's finances. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mary. Any other takers for the public comment period? Okay. This time I'll close public comment and we'll move to public hearing. Tonight's topic is the library partnership concept. We'll open the public hearing at 7:16, and again, limit your comments to 3 minutes, please. State your name and address for the record. Public hearing is open at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I signed up on that list if I don't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I do have a list here. Brett Sandstrom.
Hello, Brett Sandstrom, 432 Talcott Street, Sedro-Woolley, Washington. Not speaking on behalf of myself, but my family wrote letters and they wanted their testimony included in the public record. So I'll pass these to Cheryl. But my two boys attend a school at Clear Lake, and they wrote letters in regards to that. In-city residents can use the library, but the majority of their friends cannot. A partnership through would make it, all kids who live in the Sedro-Woolley School District have the ability to use it, and that was one of their concerns. So I have 3 letters I'd like to include. Thank you.
Okay, please give those to Cheryl as a recorder. Anybody else for the public hearing on library concept? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if you maybe mentioned to the Stendhal family that they're not obligated to hang out for the entire library public hearing.
You may or may not sit through the rest of the meeting at your choice. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
My name is... My name is Jane Fraser. I live at 210 Laurel Drive, Sedro-Woolley. I have a question for the council. Mayor Wagoner has stated several times during several public hearings that you are voting for all of us that use the library. And my question to you, and I may or may not get an answer from the council tonight, but I would really like to know how many of you actually use the library, are there on a regular basis? And so that's 3 out of, 7, 8? Okay, that's what I needed to know, because if you're not using the library, you're not actually speaking for us or voting for us. You have to know what the library is and what it does in order to be able to vote for the citizens of Sedro-Woolley. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else on the library partnership concept? Ed, come on up.
My name is Ed Kugel, and I live at 501 Fidalgo Street. I just wanted to say that I think we should listen to our librarian and what they suggested. And the suggestion was 1 to 1.5 feet per person. So we're talking about approximately 19,000 people using the library. So I think we need at least the mayor's size of a 20,000 square foot library. And that's what we need currently. What we really should plan for is what we need for the next 20 years, because that's how long we'll be paying for the library. And as I understand it, our population could double in that time. So I think we need to consider if what you're proposing is really enough money to build what we need, and if we shouldn't maybe consider paying a little more. The mayor said at the last meeting that we hadn't often funded our library enough. So to me, it's a little disappointing that you don't want to fund our library any more than at the current level for the next 20 years. If we haven't been funding it enough, maybe we could fund it a little more and get the real library that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Anybody else? We get to Dr. Howland.
Tim Howland, 26203 Minkler.
Dr. Howland, I need you to speak into the mic, please, so people can hear.
Tim Howland, 26203 Minkler Road, Sedro-Woolley. Sedro-Woolley is a community that extends well beyond the boundaries of the city proper. The city and the surrounding rural area do really depend on one another. And when we work together, as in our school district, everybody wins. If we can have 26,000 people helping to pay for the resources we need to service our citizens, that's going to make it a lot easier than just 10,000 if we were to try to do school districts in that way. A larger library building and increased funding has been requested by our library staff and patrons because they believe these are required to provide the services our community needs and deserves. I believe all parties agree with their assessment. A proposal is before us that can make this happen. It is difficult to visualize the benefits of a plan on paper. It's hard to see a building before it's really built. Accepting that something may go wrong is much easier. Fears have stopped many good ideas from becoming a reality, but fears are not necessarily facts. Great things occur when people just pull together, push their fears aside, and do what needs to be done to make good projects happen. A library is a source of education, entertainment, and access to a wider world for a very low cost for everyone. Whether wealthy or impoverished, we are all equal in a library. A library is a truly great thing. I want our community to have a great library. We can do this in different ways, but human beings always seem to do best when they work together to accomplish something. Creation of a library by a community partnership sounds like a very good idea to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Anyone else? Carl, you were starting to move, so.
Good evening. My name is Carl DeYoung. I'm a resident of 10301 Warner Street in Sedro-Woolley, Washington. This is my Sedro-Woolley library card. I am speaking in support of the library partnership concept. I'm also speaking to reaffirm resolution number 943-16, which this council took action on in June of last year. You've been working very hard and have been, I feel, very transparent in dealing with the city and the citizens of the city in making a cultural jewel for Sedro-Woolley, because we know when we come together, and work together, we can have something together. I think this will be a great opportunity, especially with the STEM or STEAM schools and education that's moving forward to the future of this community. I stand here in strong support of this measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Come on up.
Good afternoon, all of you, and at least tonight I have my voice back after a few weeks down in Australia. My name is Helge Anderson, 928 Beachley Road. First I want to make a response to Brett, Councilman Brett, and he's partially right. Kids out in the district, they cannot get a full library card. They can get a star card, which is a limitation. I was just done that. But I also wanted for the record that people would know that the Sedro-Woolley Library have, for as long as we have lived here, and that's almost 30 years now, been serving 26,000 people, have been serving the people in the district as well as the people in the city. So it's not like the district people have been locked out in any way. They have actually also had the better hand because they were not taxed like we in the city have been doing. Now they are taxed a lot higher. They actually had the choice of buying a library card for $18 for 3 months or $72 for a year. And of course, many of them were traveling down to Arizona and Mexico for the winter, and they paid a lot less. So I just want that for the record to know that this is not something where people in the district have been locked out of. We have been, the Sedro-Woolley Library have actually been serving district as well as the city people for many decades. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dennis.
Dennis O'Neill. I reside at 109 Talcott Street, and I think I caught his cold because my voice is pretty shot and dizzy, so I fall down. It's not because I've been drinking. So I wish I was drinking, though. But I gave it up 10 years ago, so anyway, I'm again talking about the library, and I didn't even realize what I was going to talk tonight until I read the Courier Times just this afternoon, Tuesday's edition. A couple things bother me a little bit about it. I was in finance, that's what I did in my life after I left Montana. And been out of there for 40 years now, so I lost a lot of the trappings from there on the way over in the last years. One of the things that sort of bothered me, and I'm sort of surprised it doesn't bother the council members, I know it's been sort of a rush to get this thing done, and it didn't go to voters because Keith mentioned one time negotiations are hard to do when you do it out in the public eye, and I can understand some of that. But, we don't really even know what this library is going to look like, the design, what the financial needs are going to be. I know we're going for a $4 million bond that is probably going to be short since City Council's already gone for another $2 million. I'm not really sure who's going to pay that $2 million. Is that also going to be split with the district? Do you have it in writing? I don't think you do. I haven't read anything on that. Maybe I'm wrong. I also sort of disagree with the mayor on the fact that when the city residents voted for him and the city council members who are considering a library partnership, I don't think very few people in this town knew anything about the idea of going to a vote or not getting a vote on this concept. I didn't know much about it, and I've gone to most city council meetings. I would have liked to have a vote. I feel that was taken away from me. The other thing, Mayor Wagner mentioned, about the fact the library's been underfunded and under-equipped for years, and I think everybody in this room would probably agree with that. But I'm sort of wondering why, because in one comment here, he said that the city encouraged debt to build a new library could be paid out of the city budget rather than using property taxes. Well, what do you call it, an assessment? A property tax? It's a tax. And it seems like, that one fund, the YMC money was donated, that was an assessment on our utility. And to me, I don't really see a big difference between property tax and just an assessment that we don't even get a chance to vote on. So maybe it's just a Montana background, but I get lost a little bit with this high finance stuff where you can take short-term or long-term debt and pay it back from short-term. There's a long-term debt paid back by short-term revenues, and the rest of these things I brought up. I guess I just don't understand high finance. I think you guys do, and I don't. And I appreciate the fact of all the heat you've taken, and I just wish I would have had a chance to vote on it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dennis. Anyone else?
Take my lion hat off. Talk about libraries. 72-year resident of Sedro-Woolley. I remember a beautiful library.
Need your name and address to start with.
I'm Lynn Torsett, 9419 Soren Road, Sedro-Woolley. Born in Sedro-Woolley 72 years ago. Had the opportunity to go to the Carnegie Library, which the city decided was too expensive and sold it, and it was crushed and put in the landfill. And over the years, we had very minimal library service. I'm a card-carrying member of the Burlington Library. I'm also on the board of the Central Skagit Rural Library District, and I believe our communities deserve high-quality library services. I believe that the joint venture is in the best interest of the community, or communities, however you want to call it. But I think it's time we stepped up and had a first-class library system that served all the people in the Sedro-Woolley School District. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Rehm, and I live at 23262 Meadowview Lane in the Sedro-Woolley School District. Excuse me. My dad used to say that the most important sense was common sense. I think that if we don't move forward with this project, that some years from now we'll be trying to explain to people why we decided to divide out our town from our school district. And I think we're going to have a hard time telling anybody that that makes any sense. So, as a longtime teacher here, a person, of course, who values access to libraries, as a person who thinks that this will be putting something in place for the future, for this wonderful town and this wonderful community, it never occurred to me that living in the district meant that I wasn't part of Sedro-Woolley, because I love this town so much. So you have an opportunity to make a future for us that is so brilliant and so wonderful, and I applaud the work you've done so far to make that decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? All right.
Good evening. My name is still Mary Anderson, and I still live at 928 Beachley Road. A public library is a bit like a car rental agency. Cars arrive on the lot, some new, some older, and the rental agency can't just hand the car over to a renter. The cars must be cleaned, insured, and identified with that car rental agency. Otherwise, there would be no way of getting the car back if the renter just decided to move or keep the car. When books arrive at a library, they come with an ISBN number. This number is not like a vehicle VIN. It's more like the make and model of the car. It's the same number for every book with that ISBN number. So a library must individually identify, also known as cataloging, each car, cover it with a protective insurance cover, and stamp it in order to ensure its return. This process can be short or time-consuming, depending on the newness of the vehicle, the book, whether someone else has already cataloged it, but then it must still be assigned a particular to its particular rental agency or library. For some catalogers, like our own esteemed Teresa, it could be a fast process. Sometimes it's not. Say, for instance, the library receives an older or more obscure car. There may not even be a VIN or CIP record available. Then the library staff has to make up one from scratch, and that can be a longer process, taking maybe up to 5 or more minutes. Now, with the Sedro-Woolley Public Library's older collection, we've had to make up a lot of catalog records, much as a car rental agency would if they had older vehicles. What that means is that the 60,000-plus collection in our library has had an appreciable amount of staff time devoted to it. The initial cost of the car is not the only cost associated with that car. Staff time to process it, cover it, stamp it, and keep it clean adds to the cost of every book in our collection. You can perhaps see that assigning a $25 price tag to every book will not take all those additional identifying costs into consideration. Realistically, it's probably closer to $35 when all is said and done. And the math on that tallies out to over $2 million. A new problem arises when the car rental agency is taken over by another one. All those vehicles will need to be reprocessed, that is, recatalogued into the new agency system. What a time-consuming and expensive process. It's not realistically, economically feasible to expect Central Skagit Library to redo all those records, which would take a long time. We are not talking about normal culling here. We are potentially talking about abandoning 1/3 to 1/2 of the Sedro-Woolley Public Library's books. So perhaps now you can understand my great concern about losing our library's collection. Not just the historic collection, but the remaining beloved books that won't make the cut to be recatalogued. Please don't give away our library collection without at least asking the citizens if we are willing to lose it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Jo Ellen Kesty, 694 Brickyard Boulevard. I stand here today in support of the library proposal. Very rarely do things in government make as much sense as this plan does. The pros far outweigh the cons. The arguments that I hear from opponents to this proposal, in my opinion, make absolutely no sense. I've been following this issue for over a year now, and I've seen the same group of people up here belittling the proposal and asking the same question 50 different ways, hoping for a different answer. If this proposal happens, my friends and I, along with our children who all attend Sedro-Woolley schools, whether residing inside city limits or outside, can all attend our new library together, enjoying the 100 years of collected books along with new and modern services. And if the current city library staff wishes to stay, they will still be in the company of their 100-year-old collection. We have nothing to lose in this proposal and everything to gain. Taxes will not increase, and if the marketplace building is chosen, a tired building will get a much-needed makeover and help to revitalize the downtown area, and hopefully encourage new businesses to locate downtown as well. The old marketplace building is, in my opinion, the perfect place for children, adults, and elderly to easily and safely get access to the new library facility. I want to thank the mayor for his leadership on this issue, and I can't wait to see it through and hopefully receive a library card. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Anyone else? Mike?
Mike Janneke, 810 Talcott Street. And I got quite a few grandchildren. Some of them live inside the school district, some of them are inside the city limits, some of them don't. I don't use the library very much. I used to a lot when my kids were little. Take them down there. We had a great time in the library. Teresa Johnson was a great asset down there, and I went to school with Debbie. So it's not anything personal. But if you look on the north side of the Sedro-Woolley High School, it says Union High School. And the reason it says Union High School was when it was built in 1921, they took like 15 school districts and they put them all together and brought everyone in, and they could do a better job teaching kids in one school district than they could having them spread all over the county. And to me, this is just 100 years later, the school district and the library are finally connecting with something that worked really well in 1921 for the school district is going to work really well for the library in probably 2020 by the time it gets all taken care of. So I'm just saying that this is a good idea. It's just 100 years too late.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else? We're at 7:40 and 22 seconds. I'll close the public hearing. And council, we are back in session. We are on page 145. This is the second reading of the interlocal proposal. And Aaron, did you want to go over this one time for everybody?
Only if you want me to.
Well, we've been here before, but it's...
Well, I'd be happy to hit probably the process is most important, so everyone's oriented to where we are in the process. Resolution 943-16 established a minimum 4-meeting process for the City Council. This is meeting 2 of 4. Meeting 1 of 4 was the Friday open work session, open house format meeting with the Q&A, and first reading of the concept proposal that came out of the negotiating committee back in November 28th, 2016. This meeting now is the second reading of that concept, and the request from the City Council is for some sort of action, a decision on whether you'd like to move forward from the concept into the drafting of actual documents phase as it was presented by the negotiating committee, or with any modifications. So the direction we're looking for is, this is kind of the first decision point for the council. Do we continue down the path or not? And if so, do you want to change anything about the path? If you do choose to continue down the path, the request is from the mayor on page 146 is a motion to direct staff to move forward to prepare the interlocal agreements. Once that's done, those will then come back to you for a first reading, which will be meeting number 3 on the list. There'll be a second, and at meeting 3, the mayor has committed in his memo to you an additional element that was not in Resolution 943-16, and that is that there would be a question and answer, a clarifying question and answer format component to that third meeting. So maybe not facilitated, maybe it is. We haven't gotten that far yet, but conceptually there would be an opportunity for the community to once again ask questions and get answers, and then also provide any comments. Then the fourth meeting would be the second reading and the first meeting at which the City Council could possibly take action to actually approve the agreements. If that happens, and if the Central Skagit Rural Partial County Library District does the same, that would then begin a whole new process of joint pre-design work. The joint pre-design work has its own public process that is detailed a bit on pages 145 and 146, but culminates in another set of decisions, another set of hurdles that both parties, that is the City Council and the District Board of Trustees, must agree to, and that would be the conceptual design, the location, and the budget. Those 3 elements were deemed so important by the Joint Negotiating Committee that, and they can't be known at this stage, that they were held out later as one last point at which the decision bodies must approve. So only at that point, if the council and the board say, yes, we agree on the location, the concept, design, and the budget, then does this partnership become a firm handshake and the process moves forward. So I don't know if that provides enough background. I feel like I've said that to the council. I actually have lost track, but I do think it's certainly important to kind of keep track of where we are process-wise. And really tonight's all about the City Council and your direction of how you want to move forward with this concept.
Thank you, Aaron. So, Council, you already know how I feel about this. I've talked about it enough. The recommended motion is on page 146.
Sorry, go ahead. I make a motion to direct staff to prepare interlocal agreements consistent with the negotiating committee's recommended library partnership concept from November 28, 2016, and bring them before the City Council for a first reading when ready. I second.
The motion was made by Councilmember Cornegay and seconded by Councilmember Johnson to direct staff to prepare interlocal agreements consistent with the negotiating committee's recommended library partnership concept from November 28, 2016, and bring them before the City Council for a first reading when ready. Any further discussion?
I'd like to say a word or two, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor. I'm all for a new library. We need it a lot because Sedro-Woolley's growing. And the only objection I have is Sedro-Woolley's library. I'd like to see it remain Sedro-Woolley's library and not the county. We don't need the county in Sedro-Woolley. I'm not taking this personal now. But, you know, it's been here for 100 years, and I'm an old-timer. I've been here a long time. And the library is very important to the city, and I would think it could be worked out some way where it would be city operated. I know we're probably the minority, but I hate to see Sedro-Woolley lose their library because we lose everything. We have absolutely no control, no say, or anything. So that's the only thing I have to say. Thank you.
Any other council member? Okay, we have the motion on the floor. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed by no. Okay, we have Chuck in the abstention, and the motion carries. Thank you, Council. On to new business, item 8, which is page 167 and 180, building planning and engineering fee schedules. So
before you move on, I think you misspoke. You said Chuck in the abstention. I believe you meant Chuck.
I meant in the negative. You are correct. Thank you for the correction.
Keep that on the record. Yeah, so John is sick tonight, so it's really up to the council. This is a combined fee schedule. Mark is prepared to talk about the engineering component. We could cover the planning and building components during the second reading if that would meet the council's needs, so we could keep the ball rolling, or we can just hold it all for the next meeting. It's up to you.
Do we have a consensus?
I did review the building planning part and talk that over with their staff today in preparation. If you do have any questions about that, I would attempt to answer them for you. And of course, I can speak at length about the engineering part of this.
Hey, Mark, please speak into the microphone a little bit more.
So I did review this, the entire packet with the building and planning staff before tonight. So I am prepared to talk about that if you have any particular questions about that part. And again, as Aaron has said, John no doubt will be here next time. But if you do have some specific questions, I can answer them at least in generalities.
Okay, since this is the first read, Council, shall we go ahead? Okay, go ahead, I guess.
Okay, so the way we're set up with our fees for both building, planning, and engineering is to change them by resolution periodically. The last time this was done was May of 2015, so basically it's a little over, not quite 2 years old. We periodically look at these to make sure that the rates, in particular the hourly rates, are consistent with our existing costs, and that does represent a good part of the changes that you will find in the schedule. Just looking at page 1 of the actual fee schedule, it has been revised to take out the reference to the Building Safety Magazine and just reference the International Building Code, which is a cleanup in the way that's done. Most of the other fee changes that you see on page 170 through 175 are the building and planning parts of the program. And again, there are some deletions for things that are outmoded and outdated. There are some additions for new types of services that the building and planning department are providing. You'll find an example of those on page 171 at the top. Some new permitting fees for roofing, which they're doing. There's also an administrative fee for processing deferred impact fees, which council has authorized to be done, but there was never a fee created for that review process. That has been added. There are on 172 some additional pieces of equipment that require specific inspection by code that are now listed separately. And some fee changes on the next couple pages. And then some changes, probably the most significant change, which John will no doubt talk about next time, is on page 174. The binding site plan fee has gone up from $400 to $1,000. That simply represents the extensive review time that is involved in that particular process. So that's pretty much it. On page 176, you will find the engineering permit fees themselves. We've eliminated the encroachment permit fee and just rolled that particular activity into our right-of-way permit application. We have added an oversized, overweight vehicle permit. This was a hole in our code that was addressed with the ordinances that you adopted at the last session in Chapter 15 of the Municipal Code. This basically covers things like moving houses, which we've had one of those permitted in the county to come through the city recently. We also want to be involved in the review process for that, and also over height type loads, which we do see fairly frequently. This will give us the authority or the ability to at least have a process to review those when they come through town, which we think is a prudent thing to do. There's also a new fee for waiver, deferral, or modification of frontage improvements, which is allowed in the Sedro-Woolley Public Works Department standards. This sets up a process for doing that and a fee for that. There's a new fee for decommissioning septic systems, the inspection of that, which is similar to our other permit inspection fees. And we did update the engineering plan review and the inspection fees to reflect personnel costs at this time. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what you have. On page 177, there's a lot of red there for the changes, but in effect, it's simply referencing the code sections. There's no real change in the fees per se. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them.
Thank you, Mark. So the staff has laid this out pretty well. It's highlighted in red and strikeout so we can understand it. Council have any questions for Mark?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Well, that was the first read. Moving on to new business item 9, Transportation Benefit District Annual Report for 2016, and I believe that is you, Mark.
Yes, it is. So I have a PowerPoint presentation. I'll try to keep it as brief as I can, but there are a few particular things I want to bring to your attention tonight. Basically, our transportation benefit district, which has been in effect about a year and a half now.
Okay, Mark, can I just pause you for a minute? Aaron, is there a way to turn his mic up?
I'll just get right up on top of it here.
Even that's, I'm thinking it's the mic, not you.
Okay. Let me try a separate one. Is that any better?
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
it is. Okay.
Yeah.
It was indeed the mic.
It's crazy.
Okay, do we have a clicker? All right. Okay. Sure. Okay, so up on the board is the ordinance that was passed in 2014 creating the TBD, and this just highlights the type of projects that are available for that funding to be used on. I have in bold there that the main criteria is that the projects must be contained in the city's transportation plan. And of course, we've just recently updated our comprehensive plan transportation element. That covers the 20-year window, and then we also annually look at the 6-year transportation improvement program, and that is basically the programs or projects that would be available for use of the TBD funds. The funds are also highlighted in the last sentence in bold there, and may also be used for operation, preservation, and maintenance of the projects that are included in the transportation plan. And this is difficult to read, but you have this table in your packet. This is the actual tabular report of the previous year's projects, which is the top part, the top lines for 2016. We had designated in the previous TBD annual report that we would fund portions of 4 projects. As it turned out, we only needed to use funds from the TBD for 1 project, and that was the design of the design and construction of the Ferry Street Township Street Overlay project. And we had projected that those funds would be $12,500 originally. We actually updated that in the council memorandum for final acceptance of that project to around $38,000. But a portion of that was salaries for staff, which we're not charging to the account, and so the actual TBD cost was $17,399. You find that there's an estimated beginning fund balance that is shown in gray there of $195,263, and then subtracting the $17,399 and adding in the beginning fund balance, we had an ending fund balance at the end of 2016 of $246,284. We anticipate that we'll be taking in $200,000 in TBD fees for 2016, so that gives us around $446,000 to work with this year. The projects that we are recommending for the TBD, the first one is the construction phase of the SR20 Cascade Trail project. That project is out to bid now and closes on the 3rd week of March. In our previous correspondence with council, we had designated $120,208 from the TBD funds for matching funds for that $1.1 million project. Our updated estimate right now indicates that we'll only need $41,000 from the TBD, and that's what's reflected in this particular report. That will be confirmed after we close the bids, and we'll come to you with an award memo that will clean up that entire process. New projects on here that I want to discuss with you tonight. The first one is the Jones-John Liner Trail Road Corridor Scoping Study. This is the next high priority project in our transportation plan. This project includes a bridge under the BNSF railroad crossing that would connect Jones and John Liner roads. Let me see if I can get to that. Okay. This map shows basically Highway 20 coming through town, then Township Street, Highway 9 North, and this is John Liner Road to Reed Street, and then the Burlington Northern Railroad at this point, where there would be an undercrossing, and then Jones Road connecting over to where Trail Road would be extended north from its existing intersection at the school maintenance shop up along the backside of the Bucko property and crossing F&S grade and tying into Jones Road. What this project does, as we've talked about a number of times in the past, is it allows local traffic to avoid Highway 20 with its 20-plus thousand vehicles a day once this project is completed. It just provides another way to move traffic efficiently through the city of Sedro-Woolley. With the new administration talking of a $1 trillion infrastructure program over the next 4 years, we want to be in place with this particular project in case some of that money does actually come to fruition. This is in keeping with the way we've done things here in Sedro-Woolley over the last 10 years, where we try to have the projects pretty much fully scoped out and in some cases actually designed when these funding opportunities come along. So that's the objective of this $100,000 is to confirm the right-of-way needs, the costs for this project, and how these projects would be built. It's actually made up, as you can see in the highlight there, of a number of separate projects to do this, and this would happen over the period of probably 8 to 10 years. The projects are outlined in our transportation plan. So that is $100,000 that's proposed from the TBD. Also, in keeping with our goal for the TBD, I'm going to back up here a little bit. This is a basic strategy that Public Works has been using to implement the goals of the Transportation Benefit District. First and foremost, something that's been on all of our minds is annual maintenance on the local access streets, which we've been woefully inadequate at funding over the last number of years. We designated basically $100,000 a year for annual maintenance, and that would be projects that would include pre-leveling, which is actually reestablishing the cross slope on the roads, chip sealing and crack sealing of arterial streets, again as eligible streets, and that number would actually increase as our TBD funds increase over the future, which we do expect. We have about $50,000 a year providing matching funds for the TBD arterial preservation program. We've been fairly successful at funding overlays such as the completed project last year, which was Ferry and Township Street, using TBD funds to match that, as I talked about earlier. And then also another $50,000 a year allocated towards a portion of the matching funds for our major capital projects that are in the 6-year TIP. That particular dollar amount is a fairly low amount for matching. We also have available GMA impact fee funding and other sources that we've used. And again, in the annual report, you will see the projects the staff is proposing to fit each of these boxes. All of those funds add up to about $200,000 a year, which is our estimated annual revenues. We don't want these funds to be sitting in the bank. We want them to be on our streets, improving our streets, and that's the goal of this strategy that we have here. So the projects that are on the list itself are just repeated on here. The 2007 arterial maintenance projects, we have $75,000 budgeted in the 2017 budget for crack seal projects, and we have $93,000 budgeted for chip seal projects. I have a map that shows those in another page or two. We also, I show on here the overlay project, which I mentioned $50,000 a year. Our project that we applied for this year was West State Street. That was not funded, so we're not going to fund an overlay project itself from these funds this year. The capital projects that are proposed, again, is the construction phase match for the Cascade Trail project, basically a 10-foot wide sidewalk that will go from Hodgin Road to Highway 9 South south that will tie into our 1.6 miles that crosses the rest of town all the way to Township Street in the east. The scoping study that I just mentioned to you for $100,000. And also I'm proposing, we've been talking about the TIB Complete Streets grant that has been brought to you a number of times. We received $125,000 for that project from TIB. We have $50,000 allocated from our REIT, our Real Estate Excise Tax funds for sidewalk maintenance. And the overall project that we had scoped for TIB was actually a bit higher than that, and we're short by $76,000 of being able to fund that. And so I'm proposing to complete that funding and complete that project with $76,000 from the TBD. So the total for all of those things this year is $385,000, and again we have an estimated revenue for 2017 of $446,000. So that will still leave about $61,000 at the end of the year in TBD funds, which we will start building again for 2018. This is again hard to read, but this is the planned chip seal projects in town. You can see them in gold there. It's actually 2.6 miles, which is a pretty significant program, much higher than we've done in the last number of years. So we're trying to hit a lot of our streets with that. I actually can't read that map myself that well. That's the crack sealing one. So we're proposing to do this on many of our arterial streets that are beginning to show quite a bit of distress. It does include, it does include Cook Road, basically from the west city limits to the roundabout, and also a couple of the approaches to the roundabout itself. It includes Metcalf Street, basically north of Northern Avenue, from Highway 20 down to Northern. It includes a portion of Ferry Street, where we have some cracking showing up in our brand new overlay. And it also includes South Township Street and Alexander Street. Anybody that's been down near our Alexander Street will know that we took significant damage on that street with the frost heave this winter, and we're actually going to be doing a chip seal on about 6 blocks and a rebuild on the long block that is just to the east of Township as a part of these two projects this year. So we have quite an aggressive arterial and local access maintenance program planned for this year. And again, these projects actually include $100,000 in funds from our local access streets program as well. So in addition to this, the 75 and 93 that are arterial funded from TIB, we have $100,000 from our property tax revenue for streets. This is just a picture of the Cascade Trail project, which I just described. Again, it goes... my laser has gone dead on me, I'm sorry. Basically, it goes from Hodgin Road back to Highway 9 South. Got one here too. Middle button, okay, right there. Yeah, so Hodgin Road in the west to Highway 9 South in the east on the north side of the route. We've already looked at this map. This is from the 2016 Comprehensive Plan update showing all of our planned arterial projects for 20 years and the scoping study area for the corridor project. That's a tabular list of those projects. They're about $19 million for all of those projects that make up that corridor project, and the dates are shown. This particular project is the sidewalk, 2017 sidewalk and ADA ramp update project. We are concentrating on the area around the high school, completing the sections of bad sidewalk that are on the west side. 2 years ago, we had TIB funds to rebuild the sidewalks on the east side from Talcott to State Street. This will fill in on the west side where the sidewalks are bad only. and also upgrade any ADA ramps that need to be fixed. It also includes sidewalk repairs on Murdoch Street, basically from State Street to Ferry Street, and also tying in on the area in front of the old Chevy garage, which is so poor. These are a part of our program to update our facilities for both Ware and also for the American Disabilities Act's requirements for access on sidewalks. This gives us the opportunity with the TIB funds of doing a pretty good size program this year. We do plan on doing at least $50,000 a year in this type of project, and we will continue to apply for grants as they become available. So that's basically my presentation on the TBD. The annual report requires your acceptance. And then I also have two motions proposed in addition to that. The second one is to authorize the budget amendment to use $100,000 in TBD funds for the Jones-John Liner Trail Road Corridor Study project scoping study, and the second one for the use of $76,000 for TBD funds for the sidewalk and ADA ramp upgrade project. So.
Thank you, Mark. Are there any questions for Mark? So, go ahead, Julia.
Turn my mic on. So I was wondering, you were talking about the West State Street, that's not going to happen. Are you talking about where the building is happening at, the apartments? Are you waiting on that till that's completed?
No, we simply didn't get the funds from TIB for that project this year. We applied for it last year and did not get funding, but we scored well. We will apply again in August, and that would be the project. We're anticipating we'll get some funding for that next year and do that in 2018.
Okay. And the other question is that I know that there were a couple streets, main streets, Bennett being one of them. I had a constituent who called in. The road in front of her place it's cracking, shifting. I didn't see that on the project. Is that something that is on a different list, or what's happening there?
I think a portion of Bennett is planned for some repair. Is that correct, Nathan?
That particular piece is just a small spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other council member?
Yeah. It's probably another spot piece, but I didn't see Murdoch on there between Highway 20 and I think Northern. Somewhere in there, there's lots of potholes like on the side of the road there where there's gravel, and there's some deep potholes there.
Yeah, we don't have that one scheduled for a chip seal or overlay right now, but we will be doing pothole repair as soon as the plants open up in those areas where we have those kind of things going on. And that's pretty extensive this year, as I mentioned before. Nathan's crew has already done some temporary patching. We had one good day where we got some hot mix, but we'll be doing quite a bit more during the course of the summer.
Mark, I was concerned about the corner at where the tennis courts are at Central Elementary School. That corner is crumbled, and that's a walkway for both the high school kids who play tennis there and for the elementary kids as they come and leave school. And is that something we could put on our ADA accessible corners?
We have, I didn't highlight them, but we have several crossings that we are going to be improving. One of them is for the State Street High School there, because there's actually not ramps for the crosswalk that's there on State Street. We also plan to add in the rectangular rotating flashing beacons, similar to what we have at the Ford Garage for mid-block crossing there at that location, and then also at the crossing of Highway 9 at McGarrigle, and then the mid-block crossing. All of those we're looking at putting and they would be funded if you approve that as a part of this 2017 sidewalk and ADA ramp project. And so also we're upgrading the other side of the ramp here at City Hall. When the City Hall was built, we didn't put a ramp on the other side, and that's a barrier. year, so that will be fixed as a part of this. So there's a number of locations we're doing spot things like that.
So the sidewalk, though, you're talking about specifically, and I know it's not popular to bring it up, but sidewalk maintenance, repair, and replacement is the responsibility of the adjoining property owner, and we are working with the school district to try to put together a broader package so we can partner with them. They have a lot of sidewalk that adjoins a lot of school properties that the school district is responsible for. So we want to work together to get the biggest bang for our buck and replace those areas that need to be replaced. Central in particular, I think, is still awaiting the bigger plan for what's going to happen there. With the tennis courts, with Talcott Street, the possible closure of Talcott Street to combine school district property on both sides. It's all tied into the school's capital facilities planning and their current structure of reviewing projects looking forward to a future, a bond.
Any other questions for Mark? So to do all this, Mark has 3 motions recommended on page 181.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the issuance of the Transportation Business District TBD annual report for 2016 as required by RCW 36.73.160.
I second.
So a motion was made by Councilmember Sandstrom, seconded by Councilmember Johnson to approve the issuance of the Transportation Benefit District Annual Report. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Carries unanimously.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize a budget amendment to use $100,000, the ice cream and blank, TB district. I've had
TB funds?
TBD funds for the Jones-John Liner Trail Road Corridor Project Scoping Study.
I second.
Okay, motion was started by Councilmember Lemley, finished by Councilmember Dunley, and seconded by Councilmember Johnson to authorize a budget amendment to use $100,000 in transportation benefit district funds for the John Liner Trail Road Corridor Project Scoping Study. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries unanimously. One more.
I make a motion to authorize a budget amendment to use $76,000 in TBD funds for the 2017 sidewalk and ADA ramp upgrade project.
Second.
The motion was made by Councilmember Carnegie, seconded by Councilmember Johnson to authorize a budget amendment using $76,000 in TBD funds for the 2017 sidewalk and ADA ramp upgrade project. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Council. We'll go to work.
Very good. So we're down to committee reports from officers. Chief Tucker.
All right, we had an addition to our department's family here on Monday night. Joanna had her baby on Monday night and had a very healthy baby girl, Natalie Sue Marie Uribe. So if you get to see Sue Stratoff around town, congratulate her on the new granddaughter. I think she's happy as can be.
Nice.
We had a story time at the library yesterday. It was very popular. Had a whole bunch of little people there, and had a puppy dog there. We had several patrol cars there. Laura did a reading, read a book about pets or about what to do when kids meet a dog. A lot of little kids there, and it was a lot of fun. Had a good time. We have been plagued by sick people. Our department has probably had at any one time in the last month or two, 2 to 3 people sick. I've had we probably lost about 6 shifts worth of people this week. already. Hopefully we're getting people healthy again, but this cold and flu has been decimating us. We even had one, Detective Eaton had gotten pneumonia earlier in the year, so it's been hitting us pretty hard. It seems to be all those people with those diseased little children that go to school. So I'm thankful my kids are adults. And finally, next Wednesday, several of us are going to go on tours of the local schools in the school district. Krista Salinas is working with the Sedro-Woolley School District to put on an emergency operations plan. It's a all hazards plan, active shooter, fire, earthquake, flood, and so on. And one of the things that we have in Sedro-Woolley is half of our schools are outside the city limits, but we will be responding to emergencies involving our schools, as well as the sheriff's office and pretty much every other agency in the county. But what we're going to do is we're going to start out with a tour of all of the schools so we can get an idea of some of the complications that some of the schools have for us. Evacuation plans need to be drafted, and Krista's done a really good job with the district in putting together plans. We're kind of finalizing those plans and planning for some drilling on emergency responses later in this year. So next Wednesday, we're all going to load up on a bus. There'll be several of us. Are you going? Fire chief and I, several of us are going to go, and we're going to be touring the schools and just getting an eye on those places. Wow, my kids went to all the ones in the city, but haven't been out to Samish in a long time, or Clear Lake, or Big Lake. So we're going to be seeing all that, and that's all I have.
Thanks, Chief Klinger. I believe it was back in the first part of January you authorized us to go ahead and surplus our old ambulance, the 2001 Ford. We finally got that mission accomplished. It went out on auction, and the auction closed yesterday. We received back the winning bid, I guess, was of $6,600 roughly, and minus the fees and everything. We should get around $5,300, so hopefully that will be moving out of our base soon. We'll try and get it started for the gentleman that purchased it. So, but hopefully it'll be moving on down the road. So that's all we have.
Thanks, Steve. Mark? Just one other thing, in addition to the report, we've got a funding opportunity that's arisen with some surplus wastewater department funds that we're looking at buying a mini excavator. It's something that's been on our wish list for quite a long time, and we're looking at state bid quotes on one now, both John Deere and Cat, and we're looking at a budget amendment coming to you next time, and we're planning for that to come for your consideration as well. I wanted to give you a heads up on that. We're going to be demoing 2 machines sometime in the next week and looking at that. The reason this is important to us, we have some very narrow alleys where our sewer system is installed. It's pretty regular that we have to go in and dig up sewer services with our 80 and 90-year-old clay pipes in there. Even our backhoes are really too big to get them in there. You can't swing around to load a truck or anything. The mini excavators are pretty slick. Basically, they turn within their own tracks. You can curl the bucket up, dig, move it around, and dump it behind you. So it greatly aids our ability to respond quickly to those calls, and they're pretty frequent. We also rent those quite frequently for our street department and our stormwater operations, and so it'll be a dual-use machine, which we would add to the ER&O, but we would fund with a budget amendment for this year with your approval. So I wanted to give you that heads up.
Thank you, Mark. Aaron?
Thank you. So I asked Mark to mention that as a first touch for you, because the price tag is a little over $100,000. I think we're estimating $101,000 and change. So it's not as much as a garbage truck. It's less than a vac truck. It's it's two patrol cars fully outfitted with a couple spare guns. So just to look at it that way, it doesn't get you very far in the fire service. about 20 feet of a ladder truck. So just a reminder for the council, we've got a jail tour coming up next Thursday. We're meeting 3:30 at the Job Shack, so anybody who wants to carpool, we can do that from City Hall here. I think the sheriff may be joining us. We'll have a couple of rigs going. Chief's going to come, so I think we'll have, I don't know, we might have both chiefs. So we could have a couple of large trucks with 4 doors to help transport folks. So that's next Thursday. Just wanted to mention briefly that the DEM conversation has continued with an additional meeting today of the Emergency Management Council. I actually can't quite encapsulate what happened today, so I just want to flag for you that there was a meeting, there was conversation, there were some ideas presented, and the group seemed to move in a direction, but I can't really describe what it is. So there's an expectation that Mayor Vanacortis put on the table that something would happen in the next 2 months, and everybody nodded. So I think what we're looking at are still the city preferred option of having this be a standalone entity versus some sort of a within the county structure entity. Those still seem to be 2 options that are on the table. Under either scenario, it appeared to me that the board liked the idea of having a contract with measurable deliverables that can be tied to budget. So, I think the positive news from my perspective is we're continuing to work on it together. If there's a negative, it's that we're still years down the road continuing to pay what we've always paid, receiving even less than we used to receive. So at least from my perspective, I do feel a sense of urgency to get this moved to a resolution, and will do my part to help on that. That's all I've got.
Patsy?
You may have noticed my box of Kleenex this evening. I've been doing my best to avoid the police department illnesses. Unfortunately, some of the finance staff have succumbed to the cold and flu. I'm not giving up the fight yet, but I hope everyone stays healthy.
Judith?
No, just every time I see that John Liner Trail Road and all that, I get so excited because it's going to mean I'm going to be able to cross the street.
But why? Chicken joke, but...
Yeah.
Jermaine?
Well, I'm actually pretty excited about it too, and I'm hoping that somehow we get a street light over in there out of this deal. Like right in front of...
roundabouts all the way.
Even those have crosswalks.
With signage though, right?
That's it for me.
Brenda?
I'd just like to say some of us, Chief Tucker, Councilmember Carnegie, Councilmember Johnson, Councilmember Owen, and myself got to go up to Swiss Center today to go to a luncheon for the new Job Corps, which is now called, Cascade College and...
Career Academy.
Career Academy is the new name for it. And it's very impressive. It's going to be like the launch. If what they're trying to do up here works, it's going to go out to other facilities nationwide. It's a new way of teaching the kids. They're going to be focusing on healthcare and also IT, which are 2 really great career paths to follow, especially in this area. And they're partnering with the college and the technical academy and several others. I didn't grasp every bit of it, but it's very, very impressive. And we got to tour some of the buildings, and seeing that the work that they're doing in there to rejuvenate these old hospital buildings for housing for these Job Corps kids is just really amazing, and really exciting to see. They're not tearing down walls. They're just putting up paint and using a lot of the existing flooring, putting new flooring in where it needs to happen, but just the fact that these buildings are being saved and going into a new great use is really exciting for this new program.
Brenda, can I just ask, have they...
You're out of order, sir.
It's just a question.
Okay.
Are any new buildings being renovated, or just what Job Corps had in the past? Do you know?
It was just what Johnson.
Yeah. What they had, they're just making them a little bit nicer. Yeah.
Could I add something to that?
Yeah.
Everybody's out of order.
They're looking to have up to 300 students, and they're always looking for new students. They actually want to make it successful, so they're looking for new students. If you know anyone that between the ages of 18 and 24,
21.
16 and 21. I thought they were going to go to 18.
No, 21.
16 and 21. If you know any kids that might be looking for a new career path and some education, that might be a route for them.
Okay, Julia.
They stole my thunder.
No, go ahead.
You can say it again. Chuck?
No, they covered it pretty good. It was a nice meal. And
People, you're worried about the meal.
I was talking about our meal at the Job Corps. And we were representing the city while you were sitting downtown gumming and so that's all I have.
Okay. Rick?
Thanks to Nathan and the street crew for adding Eastern Bennett Street onto their resurface list. It made my mother-in-law's days, and I just couldn't tell her I had nothing to do with it, but thanks anyway. And also as a reminder that Bill Stendel's memorial service is on Sunday the 12th at 2:30 at the Sedro-Woolley High School auditorium. The family is thrilled that that's the location that we're having the service. For his community service and his educational things, teacher and principal, that was the perfect location. Mark he's a production manager. He has a production business that does a lot of things, and he has been stressing an emotional stress with the loss of his dad and a productional stress of trying to get things to gel right. So he's having a hard time with the loss of his dad and things. It'll be a good service. We hope a lot of you will be there to support his family.
Thanks, Rick. Brett?
I just would like to echo Mary's concern about the signs. I know I've been asking for many years for signage, especially heading west on Moore Street to the Trestle. There is nothing that indicates that you're in Sedro-Woolley, and I think it's a desperate need. And I would like to know, maybe are there any signages in the works?
So the trestle sign that Susan Janneke undertook has been designed. I submitted it to Burlington, Northern Santa Fe for kind of conceptual review. So Jenneke Industries has designed it on their dime and has proposed to manufacture and install it as well. So a very significant commitment to get this sign up. There's a big sign. It's 60 feet wide and it's three-dimensional, and it's designed and produced, I think, in 2 or 3 different types of metal. But she didn't want to take it to the level of design detail of exactly how it will attach to the trestle until BNSF says yes. So I've submitted it for the pre-review. It was designed in accordance with the railroad specifications, but the railroad is not known for its alacrity. So that's where that sits. In response to the roundabout signage, that was discussed during our budget season. We do have dollars in the 2017 budget to address that, whether you spend it on the roundabout or on the Highway 20. I don't believe that we have a plan for that. So I guess that's the question for the council. If you've got a committee that maybe wants to get a little bit more engaged in thinking about where and what type of signage that you'd like to see, now's the time. We do have dollars in 2017 to address that. I don't know. It looks like Mary may have left, but hopefully somebody can get that message to her that there's capacity.
Is that a business development or transportation or planning? Who would do that?
Well, I guess I'm asking the council.
All three?
Which committee?
Sign. I just think that if you had something, there's a sign there that says Ferry Street, kind of that way, just something of that size, and just put, even if it's a temporary or something, just put downtown corridor or something with an arrow kind of going to the right.
I guess I was imagining that the request was for something more than a street. I mean, we can street sign manufactured and put up that says downtown
is out there.
pretty quickly.
In the town, there's nothing there.
But there's other things too. There's, basically I've been thinking about artwork that goes in them, and we've discussed some of this at the Sedro-Woolley Leadership Group. But perhaps it's time to pick a committee where that best fits.
Even if it's a temporary metal one that you fab up somewhere.
Okay.
Well, what committee would that go under? Not public safety.
Maybe. I mean, it wouldn't matter. It's just a group of us. But.
All right. Anything else, Brett?
Business development. It would go under business development, wouldn't it?
That seems like a good fit.
So, Aaron, we're thinking maybe under the Business Development Committee. That's a good place to start.
All right, we'll get a meeting scheduled and have a conversation about what exactly folks are looking for.
Anything else, Brett? Okay. Thank the council tonight for moving forward on the library proposal. I would direct you to the last page in our packet. The annual Skagit County Friends of Scouting breakfast is March 22nd, and that's going to be at the Salem Lutheran Church in Mount Vernon, and it's going to be honoring Officer McClary. So if you have a chance to go support that effort, I would appreciate it. I was proud to go over to the county, was it yesterday? Yesterday, and talk about our YMCA pledge. I was really proud to talk about it, and people were very appreciative of Sedro-Woolley taking the lead. And since we have a commissioner sitting with us, I'd like to thank the county commissioners for the work they're doing to work with the YMCA. And I learned some things that I didn't know, that there's a lack of floor space for basketball league around here. I see some heads nodding. And so the county has entered into an arrangement with the YMCA to rent space for that purpose. It's big money that's really going to help the total project, and the county is getting back floor space for those kids, and I think it was total $600,000 arrangement. So thanks to the commissioners for that. And without objection, once, twice, 3 times, we stand adjourned. Thank you all for coming.